nationally and a bunch of international ones. So it's been a pretty good progression.
Yeah, it sure has been. So you had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I was actually in about 95 or so. I was the president of the National Association of Children's Justice Centers. And we spread them all over the country.
Yeah. Well, I think they're looking for a new facility. I guess they have a remodeled home today that just doesn't quite accommodate all the needs they have.
Yeah, very true. And I think they've identified a pretty good site if we can just put all the pieces together.
Sure. Well, you sure provided a good service.
You think a little project like that is no big thing, but nowadays to build a building like they need is going to probably be, $2, $3, $4 million.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Well, it's needed. From everything he talked about, it's something that's really needed in our area. And well, across the whole country, really.
It is. It is. We thought originally we'd work ourselves out of a job, but it never did work.
No, I think it's getting bigger all the time, actually.
It is, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Well, it looks like we have just about everyone on. Hey, Lisa, I appreciate you not spreading COVID to all of us while we're on this Zoom meeting.
I know. I'm just trying to be really safe with you guys.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Now, being at the studio, I still have to keep it on, so.
Right. Let's see, we have, it looks like 3 out of 5 on. Cindy, Lisa, Ryan, good to have you here. So I guess we have a quorum. We could go ahead if there's any discussion we would want during our staff meeting. Maybe first off, if I could just, is there any one of you 3 that would be willing to provide our reverence for when we start our council meeting? Lisa, okay, thank you. I'll call you Councilman Northrup when we're doing the, okay.
You know what, Dale? They just changed our screen names on here to Councilmember Cox, Councilmember Northrup. So Shauna must have done that.
She must have done that. However, I don't see that on my, I don't see the names on my screen. I'm just glad I recognize Tracy. Front and
Yeah, I
center.
see a few other names. That's nice to have some public,
Sure.
connected.
Well, is there any discussion on, maybe while during our work session here, any discussion on the assignments that anyone has as council members that you have any discussion on that?
So I had a text conversation with Councilmember Northrup, and I offered to trade one of my duties for one of her duties if that would work good for her. And she said that might. I said we could trade. I do the mosquito abatement because I know it's an afternoon. I know it's a meeting, and I know her work commitments don't always get done right at 5:30.
Okay, so that would be a possible change right there. And maybe you've already agreed to that. Have you pretty much that?
I'll let her chime in.
Yeah, when I chime in, it's going to be background music.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever.
Okay. Councilman Paulson, we see that you're on now. We're just going through the council assignments and seeing if there's anyone that has any changes they'd like to make, or if you're happy with the assignments that you have. Let's see, Councilman Paulson, we can't hear you. I can't hear you. We're still unable to hear you. Is there anyone else that can hear him, or am I the only one that can't?
I can hear him,
You
but I can't understand what he says.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go.
Yes, there you go.
Sorry about that. I said I'm happy with the assignments I have. I need to dive into a few of them. Some I haven't spent a lot of time on, and I probably need to do a better job of that. So.
Okay.
Oh, anyway, Mayor, the assignment Lisa opted to take of mine was the youth council.
And then you would take mosquito abatement, is that right?
Yeah, yes. Unless someone else would like to.
Well, you might be under pressure already. I've seen a couple comments that people are having a few mosquitoes show up already. They blame that on not having a hard enough winter so far. So you need to get on that.
I'm just gonna be the information transit, not the not the mosquito killer.
You know, I have a question. When we change these, is this something we have to do by a motion? Or is this just something we can work out between us? And
Well, you probably don't have to do it by motion, but it'd be nice to have a record of what you've done. So to
sure.
come up with all the changes and put it someplace in the minutes would be helpful, I would think.
Okay, so I guess, Shauna, when we get to that part on the agenda, we'll just make sure we review all of those with you so that you can make record of it. It sounds like there might not be very many changes, though. Councilman Hill, are you happy with the assignments you have?
I am happy. I just feel bad I can't attend all the meetings. Law enforcement, animal control, they have them like at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and there's no way I can make that work. So if anybody is free that time of day, they're more than willing or happy to take that assignment. It's kind of a hard one.
What day of the week is it, Ryan?
I'll have to look at my emails and see. I want to say Tuesday or Wednesday, like at 10:30 in the morning.
Are they
I think it's
weekly or
Tuesday.
monthly or,
Seems like monthly.
okay. If they're Wednesdays, I could do that.
Okay, let me look and I'll see if I can find it right now and I'll let you know.
Councilman Osler, it's good to see you. We're just reviewing some of this council assignments to see if everyone's happy with the assignments they have, or if there's something that could work a little better. Are you okay with the assignments you have?
Yeah, I'm okay where I'm at.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, are there any other questions that you might have on the agenda or anything like that that you'd like to discuss before we start our meeting.
Mayor, were you able to find out who that residence belonged to? They're on 5100.
Oh, where the mulch is piled? I don't know who that is.
Okay. All right. Does any other council members know possibly who owns that first lot east of 51, or excuse me, east of 5500 South on 5100 South? I just said that backwards. 5500 West and 5100 South. Just east of there, there's some piles of mulch being dumped. And we have a concerned neighbor that wants to know why the city hasn't cleaned it up. And so I'm just trying to find out if anybody knows who that property belongs to. It that's in my district. I've gone to the door once, but I don't know if that land belongs to the city that on the easement or how that works. If
Did
anybody
you
knows.
say, Lisa, did you say east of 55 West?
Yes. Just kind of right where that trail starts in the Hooper Landings area. Just right there. Then there's a bunch of bark chips piles that it looks like it's been added to lately. I've checked on it a couple times, but it doesn't seem to get smaller, it just gets bigger.
Is it on the south side of the road or the north side?
North side. So across from the guy that has the semi.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that is actually city property.
right.
Okay,
That was dedicated years ago when Hooper Landings was put together as part of an old ordinance that we had called the ROS ordinance that created all that open space. So
so right there by that ditch and that fence line is city
right there by
property.
the Campbells live right there, and yeah, right there, and
Yeah, by the Campbells, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, that's a question we had, Lisa, wasn't
yes,
it?
yes.
City property or,
So now I just got to find out who's been dumping it there and then what do I need to do to get that removed? Do we just talk to Jared or do I need to
Well,
go
we'll
with my
find out
shovel?
we'll find out who's dumping it. It really looks like it's done with someone who's trimming trees, you know, because it's all the way it's all ground up in that. So I don't know if there's one of these companies that's just
Okay,
well, I can't imagine you would just dump it there without some type of permission or someone requesting it be dumped
okay.
there.
All right, I'll just keep checking back at the house then. Does that mean there's going to be some kind of citation? Because
Yeah,
it's
so
illegal.
really, what you can do is if you or Mayor, let me know the exact location, and then I can talk to Jared. I can see whose it is, and then I can. What I would do is I'd let Iris know, our ordinance officer, and then she'll kind of write that warning. But if we know who it is, then we can just contact them directly, which speeds up that process.
Okay.
You could probably cite them, but probably better idea is just to give them a notice that they need to clean it up within a certain amount of time. And then if they don't, cite them.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, I will try to get to the house then here. Well, I have to sub tomorrow, but I can stop there on my way back and see if anybody's home this time and just double check and see if they even know.
Yeah, there's no question. There's been a few more loads dumped there than when it was first reported last fall.
Thank you.
Is this in the street then, or is it just on the side of the road?
I would say just on the side of the road. I mean, it's off the road a little ways, but it's not like creating a hazard. I think, well, Lisa, what is the complaint? They actually talked to you and
That somebody was illegally dumping on city property. That at one time, the first complaint was that it smelled, but I went over, I didn't smell anything. I took pictures just so I could keep track of how much was dumped there. And it does look like it's grown, but I have never smelled a smell. So I think it's just a nuisance to those neighbors, the one that is concerned about it. And then they just don't want somebody illegally dumping, which I understand that. So I'll just keep checking into it.
okay, is there any other business that we could, not necessarily business, but during our staff meeting here that you have questions on or would like to discuss?
I wanted to ask Sherry if she's on, about the letters for the ramp grant application. I know that I saw Chris's and I saw Cindy's, but seems like she mentioned there was a letter she had that she could just send us to have a sign, or did she want us to do our own letter?
Hi, Ryan. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to do a letter and then Cindy volunteered to do a letter. So if you are fine with Cindy's letter, we can just have that be from the city council. If you want me to do an additional letter, if you wanted to write your own letter, I just hadn't heard back from anybody but Cindy, so I just wasn't sure what people wanted to do with that.
I'm fine doing my own letter. Is there anything
Okay.
specific you need in the letter, or just a general support?
You know, it's just a general letter of support. We get points if we have support letters that are from our community, but also that shows this will be used for other areas of Weber County besides Sugar, which our park certainly is. You know, every grant we're applying for certainly is applicable to anybody within Weber County and the northern part of Davis County as well. So usually I just suggest people write just their support, how they think it will benefit the city. It doesn't have to be anything really long either. Like I say, we just get points if we turn it in, and that's always helpful to have those support letters. And we haven't in the past had letters from our city council, but I think that's something that would be really good to have if we could.
Okay, I'll get you one.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine. If anybody, I said in my letter, I said I, but I can change that to we. If anyone wants to Sherry can print it and anybody else can sign it if they'd like to. I actually wrote 2 letters, one for the major grant and one for the minor grant. So anybody that would like to sign that is more than welcome to. I also reached out to some of the citizens that were on my focus group and asked them to write. And I guess Sherry, you got some letters from some of them?
I did receive one letter. Was her name Cindy?
Yeah, Padilla. Yeah.
Mhm, yeah, I did.
So Sherry, would it be helpful if there was more than one signature on some of these letters? I mean, which do you think would be better, separate letters, or if there were quite a few signatures on a letter?
You know what? I think either. I have secured letters from, oh, now it's showing up. I forgot this on my phone and my computer because it wasn't working on the computer. I was a little bit in a panic here. Anyway, so are you seeing me twice? I hope not. Once is not.
I really couldn't hear what you just said, though. It was just a little bit garbled and I didn't hear it.
Okay, so let me put my phone closer. I'm not sure. Let me turn my phone off now and see if it's going to work on the computer. If I can get out of this screen. Okay. Let me turn my phone off and let me turn my volume on this on. Okay, can you hear me or not?
So talk again.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, the computer's not working. So I just need to put this down so you don't see me. Okay. Anyway, I have gotten a letter from at least one support letter from some other entity for every single grant. So it would be nice. I don't know that we necessarily have to have 7 support letters. So I think if we have some that have multiple signatures on them, I think that would be fine. If we had 2 or 3 separate ones, you know, ideally, I think if we had 3 letters per grant is probably sufficient.
I was just wondering if maybe if those were made available at the city office, maybe some could stop in and sign that, if that would be helpful.
So I'm going to turn those in Monday morning, the grants. So it would really be, I can leave them at the city office. I would just have to have them signed probably, you know, that morning so I could get them turned in. We have to copy off 15 copies. Or I would be happy if someone has a letter to run them around, have people sign them even tomorrow so I can get those copied. It's a little bit time intensive, even when I do that many copies. Signatures are always nice. I don't have signatures on all my letters because a lot of people have emailed them to me, like Jean Larson, for example, and the AYSO Regional Commissioner emailed me letters. But I think it would be nice to have signatures from City Council if we could.
Hey, Sherry,
Uh-huh.
I could take that letter that Marv sent in to me and get it signed by about 8 people tomorrow morning playing pickleball, if you'd like,
Okay,
that
sure.
are citizens.
Yeah, that would be great. I printed it off, but if you just want to print it off and take it with you tomorrow and have them sign it, if you wouldn't mind just dropping it off. Because my plan is to get all those copies printed Saturday, so I have them ready to turn in Monday. Because like I say, each ramp grant has about 8 to 10 pages, and we have to submit 15 copies of each grant. So it takes a little bit to get them all ready to go.
I'll be glad to do
So-
that.
So I didn't put a signature. I mean, I put my name on it, and I'm willing to put anybody else's name on the bottom if you don't have to have the signature. And then it would at least show it's from more than one person. And then I'll just email you that if that would save.
Okay, well, whatever people want to do, I'm fine with that. If Ryan wants to write his own letter, maybe if the rest want to join your letter. I read through your letters. I thought they sounded great. I don't know that anything I would add or take away from them. So this is hard where we're all in different locations, but if people want to kind of talk and agree, then whatever they want to do with that.
Cindy, if you wanted to add my name to the bottom of that, that'd be great.
I will do that.
Well, that sounds good. Sounds real good.
So I just have one question real quick. So I couldn't get my camera to work on my computer, but then I think maybe Shauna got it to work. When it comes to my turn doing that, I really need to be able to do it on my computer so I can share my screen. So I'm going to go off and see. Well, let me see. There I am. I can't get the audio to work. I'm not sure where you're seeing me from, my phone or from the computer. Are you seeing me twice?
It looks like your phone,
We're seeing
actually,
it from
from
your
the,
phone, yeah.
From your
Okay.
phone, right.
Okay.
You do
So
pop up
when-
on the computer, though.
So let me see if, would it be okay if I just tried real quick to see if I could share a screen?
Sure.
Okay, let me just see because I
You
have,
have 6 minutes.
okay. Oh, see, I think I'll be able to. Okay, oh, good. Okay, so then, I want, because I just have some things that are a little bit easier to see as far as going over the budget, because I know I didn't send everything to Shauna to include in the packet, because like I say, they're 8 to 10 pages per grant. So if I could just go through the budgets real quick at our regular meeting, that would be great. So,
Yeah, that will be good.
okay, thank you.
Are there any other items that you'd like to bring up before we start? You'll notice on the agenda, there is one place where it has reports. Would you like us to start putting a member of the council on there, so that you would know in advance when you'd want to report on any of your assignments or things like that? Otherwise, we could just leave it blank like we have, and if we have no reports, then we wouldn't have any reports. But Or I guess you could also just let Shauna know before the meetings if you have something, one of your assignments that you'd like to report on. That would work. That would work really good too. Okay, I have 7 o'clock. So seeing that it's 7 o'clock, we'll call to order the Hooper City Council meeting for Thursday, January 7th, 2021. And we will forego having a pledge of allegiance since we're doing this with a Zoom meeting. But we've asked Councilman Northrup if she would provide us a reverence.
Our Father in heaven, as we gather as a city council and members of Hooper City, we pray for thy guidance and blessings to be with us as we follow through with the concerns of our citizens, to make the right choices for them, to be able to think clearly and make the best decisions for the future of our city. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve in the community and for the friendships and the closeness that it brings. And we know that we are blessed to be living here in this area. Pray for our troops, for peace in the land, and for the many things that thou hast given us, we thank thee for. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you. You know, I do feel lucky to live in the area that we live in. As we talked about earlier, with everything that's going on back east of us, I feel real fortunate that we live here. So thank you for that, Reverence. At this time, we'll just ask if there's any conflicts of interest among any of the council members with anything that's on the agenda, any of the agenda items. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes from December 17th, 2020. Have you had a chance to review those, and are there any amendments or anything that we need to make to those minutes? If not, we would entertain a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 17th, 2020 as written.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Hill. We have a second.
I'll second.
Have a second from Councilman Osler. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Those were approved. At this time, we'll move to the citizens' comments. Shauna, is there anyone who has written in any comments or have given you indication that they'd like to make a comment at this time?
I have not had any citizen comments sent into the email prior to this meeting, and I don't currently have anybody who's announced for citizen comment in the chat box.
Okay, I do see a few other citizens on the meeting with us. I don't know if any of those people who may be joining us would have a comment, but if not, we'll just move right into the city business. The first item on the agenda is the final approval from the Osick subdivision, a one-lot subdivision located at 5526 South, 6700 West. So Tracy, if you'd share with the council information on this agenda item.
I will. I'm going to share my screen and open my presentation so you can see the presentation here. There we go. All right, so this first item, as the mayor said, is final approval for the Osick subdivision. It's a one lot with a large remainder parcel that's not currently part of any development right now, but located at the intersection of 5500 South and 6700 West. So you can see from the image here, there's the intersection. Lot 1 of the subdivision is highlighted in blue, and the remainder parcel in red. And this is in our R1 zone, came before the Planning Commission in December. And I'll just kind of review the items that were discussed with the Planning Commission. And like I say, it is final plat approval. And so this will be, this is the Planning Commission had a review, and you'll have a review here tonight to make a decision. But here is the plat. And again, I just highlighted lot 1 out here that is actually going to become an approved building lot. And the rest of it is remainder parcel, currently not for development. So these are the items that were discussed with the Planning Commission. We noted that all the revisions and corrections to the final plat had been made before it came to the commission. We'd received all the necessary letters from Hooper Water Improvement District, Hooper Irrigation, Rocky Mountain Power, Dominion Energy, the Fire District. Weber Morgan Health Department provided what they refer to as a septic system feasibility letter. And that, I told the planning commission, that represents their approval for a septic system that is still to be designed and constructed. And a permit actually follows an approved design, but they don't start design until, don't get a permit till it's designed. They don't start design until they have approval. And the septic system feasibility letter provides that for the city to be able to move this forward. All the other items from Public Works and engineering memos had been completed. The Planning Commission talked about the curb, gutter, and sidewalk ordinance and made a recommendation for escrow to the city council that those funds just be escrowed and that no construction be required at this time. And by the way, I should mention that, Jared has told me before, Public Works, that he has worked with this property owner, and they've actually gone to the effort of piping the ditch fully in front of their property. And he said that that all turned out really good. So they have already handled that, but curb, gutter, and sidewalk escrow recommended. And then the other item that was discussed was a land use separation fence that's in our ordinance. The remainder parcel is owned by immediate family. And so as has happened in the past, the Planning Commission is recommending no requirement for land use separation fence because of the fact that it's the entire piece is still in the same immediate family. So pretty straightforward. All the things had been checked off, and the Planning Commission voted to recommend this final plat approval to the City Council. Any questions for me?
Tracy, I just had a question. On the north side of that property,
Correct.
that red area goes clear to the corner there of 55 and 67. Is that for the right of way?
That is actually, there's actually a concrete ditch there. And so, yeah, so it's part of future development, but it's not being dealt with right now. And the right of way itself, I think, is what's required already on the plat. It's just a little piece that is there. At some point in time, it'll have to be incorporated into future development. And as you've seen along there in other subdivisions, that open ditch has been piped in other areas, and that will come in the future. So.
Okay. Well, that picture does clarify it. I was just looking, the lot that's on the northeast corner of this is also OSIC, but it's the one that's on the west end of the field, not the east end, the one that's in blue, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Their frontage exists along 6700 West.
Okay, right, okay. Any other questions for Tracy? Okay, well, thank you, Tracy. Is there someone here on the meeting that representing this subdivision, one of the OSICs? And if so, are you there?
Yes, sir. This is Clinton Lindozic.
Great. Okay. Does any members of the council have any questions for the OSIC family? Okay.
I might mention, I did remember that the OSICs had mentioned to the Planning Commission that little strip also recommends or represents access to the larger parcel, because access off of 5500 South is not possible because of the concrete ditch. So that's also what they'll use for access in the meantime to get onto the agricultural piece. So
that would be the strip running along the north side of their
correct.
lot.
Did I represent that correctly?
Yes, it is. Right.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate the OSICs being on with us. We'll bring it back to the council then. Is there any other discussion? And if not, Do we have a motion?
I just have a question. Where it's a subdivision thing, what about on the south side? Is there a fencing thing needed there where that is not immediate family land?
No, the land use separation fence is specifically to distinguish between residential and agricultural.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
South side is another residential lot, so
Perfect, thank you.
you bet.
Any other questions? Okay, we would entertain a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we grant final approval for the 06 subdivision at 5526 South, 6700 West.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Cox. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Can I amend the motion? Can I amend it to include escrow funds for curb gutter and sidewalk as recommended by the planning commission, and to not require the land separation fence as recommended by the planning commission also?
Okay, Councilman Cox, is that amendment good with your
That's-
motion?
Sounds good. You can just add it in verbatim if you want.
Okay, so then I think we had a second from, we have a second on the motion and the amendment. From Councilman,
Yes.
okay, from Councilman Paulson. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, that is approved. The next item on the agenda is final approval for the Wheeler subdivision. This also is a one-lot subdivision located at 6100 West and 5700 South. So Tracy, if you'd share information on this.
You bet. So I've highlighted this lot in blue here. It fronts on 5700 South. It is just one lot on a remainder parcel or a piece of ground that's has been modified to create this, and as a result, then gets added as a subdivision. But it will become a building lot with approval as a subdivision. It's in the R2 zone, so it meets all of the requirements of the R2 zone relative to frontage and lot size. So this is the plat. And how it sits relative to the road, and this also came before the Planning Commission in December, and had a good discussion. I'll just share with you some of the things that were discussed at that time. So again, we told the Planning Commission that all the revisions and corrections to the plat had been made, and all the necessary will serve letters had been received from the outside entities to say that they gave approval to move forward. We had Public Works and Engineering memos, and all the items had been addressed. And I even mentioned to the Planning Commission that one of the items that was brought up by Jared, our Public Works Director, was we're piping the ditch. You can see the easement, the private ditch easement along the west side of this, and he was concerned about the control for the irrigators that use this water, and the control will actually be within this lot. And so we wanted to be sure that those folks that were going to actually turn the water out of this pipe were okay with the way this was being set up. And we did actually receive signed letters that said, yes, we're just fine with the way this has been set up. And so that's always a good thing from the city standpoint, to have that type of information in the file. And again, curb gutter and sidewalk here again is recommended as to be escrow, funds to be escrowed by the Planning Commission. And I should just mention, some of these subdivisions, even though it's one lot, you think, oh, it's easy. you know, they had a ditch out in front. They have a ditch along the side. And so there, I mean, there's a significant amount of work that goes into even making some of these one lot subdivisions work. And we're appreciative of the fact that they've shown those things, and we've been able to check all of those off of our public works and engineering memos. So the Planning Commission voted to recommend final plat approval to this Wheeler subdivision.
Okay, well, thank you, Tracy. Is there someone on that is representing the Wheeler subdivision? Okay, if not, we'll bring it back to the council. Is there any other discussion on this application? And if not, we would entertain a motion.
The Wheelers are on there.
Yeah, I couldn't see them. Did they try to come on?
Ashley, can you hear me? Okay, we just can't hear you guys.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear us now?
There we go. I can,
Yeah, we're here. I'm sorry.
okay, no, that's fine. We can see you and hear you now. At least I can. I couldn't before. Okay, so are there any members of the council that would have any questions for the Wheelers? Okay, seeing none, then we'll bring it back to the council. Any other discussion? And if not, we entertain a motion on this request.
I'll make the motion to approve the final approval of the one lot subdivision for the Wheeler subdivision, 6100 west, 5700 south, with all recommendations from the Planning Commission as stated.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Hill. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Councilman Northrup. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we have an amendment to the Quail Cove subdivision, which is a 9-lot subdivision located at 3750 south and 5250 west. So Tracy, we'll have you explain this amendment.
Okay, fairly straightforward, but I have a couple of slides in here to help with this. So when the Quail Cove subdivision was approved by the council, this was what the plat looked like. It represented this stub street to the east and then a stub street to the west that was deep enough that we needed to add a temporary turnaround. And you can see that here on the last lots. Temporary turnarounds are something we do for the fire department. They're wide. They're 80 to 100 feet in diameter, and they also have to be hard surface. And so they're not our favorite things, but we as when we get this deep of a street with 3 lots deep, 300 feet, we need to provide a way for the fire apparatus to be able to turn around. So this is the way it was approved. And since that time, the developer has, well, when we came to the Planning Commission, they had received a letter of approval from the property owner to the west to move this onto that property. And now we've sent, this developer, Nielsen Homes, has since purchased this property outright. So what they're asking for is for an amendment to this plat approval so that it looks like this. And this temporary turnaround is now going to be on adjacent property. And and the adjacent property is actually part of a second phase of the Silver Saddle subdivision, which hasn't even come forward yet. So in the meantime, before this road will be connected, we'll have this temporary turnaround there. And then these lots here at the end of the street will not be encumbered with the circular pavement into their lots. As Public Works and Engineering, we like this a whole lot better when it can happen. And but we felt like the mayor and our attorney feels like this type of thing should come back to the city council for approval in order to amend this final plat. And the plat hasn't been signed. We're amending the previous approval and before the plat is actually signed. So we don't need to change the name of the subdivision or anything else for that matter. So does that make sense?
Anyone have any questions for Tracy on this amendment to this subdivision? Okay. Yeah, when you see subdivisions, it's actually in the lots. It's in the lot of stands. Is there anyone on the call or on the Zoom from the call? I seem to get a lot of feedback right then. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
This is Amy with Nelson Homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to have you on, Amy. Is there any members of the council have you on? Any questions for Amy? Okay, seeing or hearing none, we get back to the council. Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the developer change to the Quell Cove subdivision and approve this current proposal for the final plat as outlined, with the temporary turnaround spot being on the other side of the existing lots.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Paulson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Councilman Osler. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that passes.
Great. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you guys, all of you. As much as I love all of you, BYU basketball against Gonzaga, the #1 team right now. And I'm DVRing it, but I don't want to wait and see the whole thing at the end. So I'm dropping out. So
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, we're a little disappointed to
Yeah,
find out where your priorities are, but that's okay.
I know. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Tracy.
You bet.
Okay, next we have on the agenda, we have the discussion on our ramp grant project applications. And we have Sherry Bingham with us, who's our coordinator over these grants. And so Sherry, I guess we'll turn some time over to you to review these ramp grants and so all of us can have a chance to understand what we're applying for. And anyway, we'll turn some time over to you.
Okay, thank you. If you have any questions as we go along, make sure you ask. I'm going to share my screen a little bit because there's some things that'll make it a little bit easier. So I just first wanted to just real quick overview of what the grants are. I know you received this in your packets. So there's a major grant we can apply for, one that is greater than $200,000. We can apply for 3 in the parks and recs that are less than 200,000. We can apply for 3 in the arts and museums. And so I just wanted to tell you which order, because some of these are a little simpler, probably won't have a lot of discussion, but there's some that maybe will have a little more discussion. On our arts and museum, last year we applied for a grant and we received one for our Gentry concert for Hooper Tomato Days. Because we were unable to have that, I filed an extension, and so that can be carried over and used for this year. And so we do already have those funds for that grant. And so then let me just show you, and I just wanted to show you the budgets because that maybe will make a little more sense when we go to do that. So let me just go to the next one. Okay, so if you notice, we have to rank them 1, 2, and 3. And so that was our #1 grant. Our second grant that we're applying for, and what you received was the actual grant application, which is a 2-page that we apply for when we turn those in. But also then there's this is other pages that's kind of a summary. And so, we don't necessarily go through all this, but this is what I complete for the grant. But I just wanted to review the budgets real quick so you understand that.
Are you still sharing your screen with us? Because I
didn't share. Okay. Nope. I'm sorry. Okay. There you go. I'm sorry. Remind me with this. Okay. So we have to, I fill out this ramp grant application and we turn in this summary of what we're applying for. But I just wanted to review the budgets with you real quick. So for this grant, we are going to ask for $32,735. The rest of this you'll see where it shows with Hooper City is what we are going to be matching as far as doing some of the electrical work, the groundwork as far as the prep. We receive more points if we can end up getting if we have about a 50% match of what the ramp we are asking for. So hopefully this makes sense as we go through. And if you have any questions, there's not really money that's coming out of the general fund for this one. It's more us doing matching work. There will be some as far as gravel and concrete, but most of it's matching. So do you have any questions on this one? And this is the one that would be the electronic message center that would be out on the corner of 55 and 46, that we could, anytime we had an upcoming event, if we had any information that we wanted to put on as far as election notice, where they could go to vote, that sort of thing could be on this message center.
Sherry, Janelle and I were actually discussing that the other day, that for a better way for information, and we thought we were actually going to contact the city to see if they wanted to put something right here on the corner, on our corner, but a marquee of some kind.
That would be a great place too. We just were we didn't know if we could get permission for anywhere else, and so that would be city property. I know that's electronic, so it's done with the computer. So that's certainly something we could, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on this one?
Hey, Lisa, I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna suggest that. So, I mean, obviously the majority of our traffic in the city comes through that 4-way intersection. So that'd be an ideal location for it if we can make that happen.
I agree. And I can go in and just change that on the grant. It wouldn't be on the application, but it would be on this literature up here where it talks about it. We could do that. And I'm assuming costs would be similar. I don't know.
Yeah. We could, you know, that just has that little semicircle or whatever, but if we needed to maneuver that a little bit, it'd probably only, if it did anything, it'd only take one parking spot away, so that's not a big
Okay.
deal.
Okay. Is everybody agreeable with that? Is that something then you want me to change to have it down on that corner?
That'd be great.
Okay, well, I will look through this then and maybe talk a little bit with you, Lisa, about maybe then some of these costs might change a little bit as far as Hooper's portion of it, so, okay.
So what's
Okay.
the ownership situation of that property?
Well, yeah, that would be a concern, wouldn't it?
I'm pretty sure in the gravel area where that power box and all that sits, I think that's ours because it's off the road.
Yeah, I think you just need to check into ownership, and if it's going to be on property that's not city property, then you'd have to get a permanent easement of some type so that you can put the sign in and not have a subsequent owner want it taken off.
Right. Well, that owner would be dumb.
Well, you know, I guess that was one of the easiest things about having it on city property is we would never have to worry about that. And also as far as with the computer changing the messages, because I know that corner would certainly be a better spot than the corner we're talking about there at the city. But you know, Reed is right with that. The city does own the property there at the corner of the civic center.
So that was my question. Who would control the computer and the readout on the screen if it was down there? I mean, is it installed right in it, or you know how that works, Sherry?
I don't know exactly how that works. He just told me it's done by a computer.
It's probably similar to what we just got those LED permanent lights put on. And it's probably similar to that. I just run it through my phone. It's just plugged into the electricity. It's got a sensor thing on it, and I just run it through my phone. So it's probably going to be something similar to that, where they just have some kind of computer chip and they can just run it from their phone or their laptop or whatever, just connect into the app and probably type in what they want or whatever. Kind of like those, the solar sign or the electronic signs you see on the highway and the freeway when it says merge and all that. That's just all done by a computer that's somewhere else.
Sherry, another thing to think about is make sure you read over the city's sign ordinance. You don't want to be violating your own ordinance regardless of where it's located.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yep, that's a good point too. Well, so what do you want me to pursue on this then? I'll check the sign ordinances. Down at the corner of 55 and 59, and then we'd have to get an easement or leave it on city property.
Have you got time? Is that going to complicate getting the request in by Monday, or? Because if so, I mean, that is an obviously great location, but if it's going to complicate it a lot, it might be best just to put it in and see how you do this time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's going to matter to the ramp people where you put it. So you could probably put it in for either location, and then if you decide on a different location, just get permission to change it. I don't know why they'd care.
Okay. Well, if that's okay, then maybe we'll go ahead and just put it in as is, and then that would give us a little more time. Usually they come out and ask questions, you know, where it's going to be, which that probably won't be until maybe the second week of February or so. So that would give us a little time to check on easements. So.
And there's a possibility maybe we could have a second sign, put in a ramp, request for a second sign at the four-way stop.
Yeah.
And that then would really cover the city that much better. Anyway.
Okay, then let's just, I'm gonna move on then, so I don't
Okay.
take too much time. Okay, and so then another one, so the third one we were going to apply for in the arts and museums are to do historical monument markers. These are the ones that you've probably seen up on 6,000 in Roy. So this is an example of one that they've done, and Roy has done several of these and has received some ramp funding for it. So I called the company that did those, and it's actually back east. So I just mock made one that possibly we could do, that it was at the Hooper Park. I mean, this is just one I made up, so I'm not saying we would have to have this, but just as an example, home of Hooper Tomato Days, visited by President Ronald Reagan. But we would apply to get some of these monument markers here in Hooper. So I think that would be something. Here's the budget. They end up being around $3,000 a piece. And so I applied to do 4 of them. And then again, you can see the Hooper City's portion as far as doing the groundwork, if we needed some gravel, concrete, the landscaping. And then again, we would apply for the ramp grants and Hooper City's contribution. So sometimes you look at this, but it's not all cash because a lot of it is labor and the use of our trucks, which we already own. So any questions on this one?
Sherry, did you say we had to rank them by priority? Like,
We have to rank them by priority. Yes, 1, 2, and 3. And so I had this one as number 3, the message sender is number 2, and Gentry was our number 1 because we already received it. But we can change that if you would sooner change this one be number 2, the message sender be number 3, whatever you'd sooner.
Does that have an effect on already having been approved for Gentry? I mean, if we move Gentry to number 4, I mean,
Yeah.
why would we if we've already got the money?
Yeah, Gentry has to be our number 1. I already called and verified that with the with Weber County. So it has to be our number 1 because we already applied and received that money. And last year, that was the only arts and museum one we received was the Gentry. We actually applied for a historical marker last year, and not the historical marker, excuse me, the electronic message board. But we only did receive the Gentry last year in the arts and museums. And it all depends on funding and how many different cities apply for the funding. So, and you know, I always try to look for some grants too that aren't as expensive, because sometimes they may have a little bit of money left over at the end and they'll say, oh, hey, well, Hooper City's looking for some historical markers. We have $8,000. They could give that to us, and then we could possibly get 2 or 3 this year and then build on that. So, okay, any questions on this one? And like I say, you know, there's more to the application than that, but anyway, okay. Okay, so then let's move on to the Parks and Recreation, because there's a little more, 2 of these I'm gonna go through first, and then we'll do the other ones because there's a little more to. Okay, this was our number 3 on Parks and Recreation, and they are some benches. They're actually not picnic benches. I need to modify that. They are just benches. How this kind of came to be is when LeGrand and Beverly Belknap died, instead of having flowers, their family actually suggested that people donate money. And so we've collected enough money, and this bench is going to be placed in Hooper North Park. One thing that goes along nicely with benches is to have more than one. And if we do end up getting some of our other funding to do a playground, pickleball, it's always nice to be able to have other benches. So our number 3 then is to purchase more benches. And again, I just had to kind of do a mock one of what it would be like. It wouldn't be exactly like this, but might be something similar. And so then as you see the benches, we could get 4 benches, and that would be for $4,600 would be what we would end up requesting the funding for. And also to do the gravel and the concrete that goes around each bench, And then again, you'd see the Hooper City's portion of what that would end up being. So we would end up putting in about half of that, and we would request for funding for the other. So, and again, sometimes they do partial, and this was our third choice on the park. So again, they may have a few thousand left over and say, then let's let Hooper get a couple of benches. So any questions on this? Okay, so our number 2 was a small pavilion. And again, this is a relatively, it's not as inexpensive as a grant. And again, if you look up here, I kind of did an artist drawing of where it would be. And I thought maybe possibly here if we get the pickleball courts, which I'll show you that one coming up here quickly. But we already have a small family pavilion down at our other park, which gets used a lot. And so this would just be applying for a small pavilion here at the north. We just recently had the large one, but this would just be a smaller 16-foot square one. So again, this is the funds we're requesting, and then you'll see there's a little bit that goes into it, an expense as far as the cement work. Most of it is labor intensive from Hooper City employees. So any requests or questions on that one?
Sherry, I just wanted to ask a question about the current pavilion we have. Does that include the picnic tables to go in that pavilion?
So this year, every year you get a ramp grant. Every city gets a general grant, and it is based on your population. And so this year we actually received $8,400, and I believe it was $66 for our grant. We don't have to apply for it, we just get it. We have already ordered picnic tables for that.
Okay, great, thank you.
So yeah, so they're already ordered. Everything is a little bit behind now because of COVID. So I'm not sure exactly when we will be on the schedule, but we've already ordered. They've already sent us the invoice, and those are being made.
Does it have electrical?
They did run electrical power to it. They don't have lights or anything yet, but they have run power. Yeah. Okay, any questions on this one then? And you know, our other one has 9 tables that's going to be in the large pavilion. One this size would probably only have 2 or 3 because it's just a small pavilion for a family to come to use. So, okay. Okay, so now the next 2 have a little more to them, which I really wanted to go over these with you. So let me just find it here where it is. And I had mentioned this to you when I sent out that one message. So if you remember back at the budget meeting, there was actually $250,000 that was allocated from the budget in order to go to the pickleball courts. When I was doing the budget with the pickleball courts, and I'll show you that next, which is our major grant, we do have some extra money, and I will show you that I feel that we should put towards the playground equipment. Out of that 250,000, and I said to you about doing 30,000 for the playground, and I have a typo there. I'll correct that before I submit it. But when I was doing the final budgets today, because I just received one of our final bids today on our major grant, we really, I feel like, have $40,000 that we could put towards the playground equipment, which then gets us at about 50% of what we are asking for as far as the total project. That they really like to see the cities actually have a commitment of this. So the playground equipment is going to be about $100,000. I've had 2 bids. Both of those are fairly similar to the design, and you know, we can pick our exact design if we end up getting this grant. So if we ask for $60,000 from ramp, and then you see the other expenses there are as far as some cement, curbing, and all of that, the total cost of the playground would be $136,000. If we use $40,000 from our general fund, you see our labor and equipment. We're asking for the funding from ramp, and it puts us a little over 50%, which really is a plus when you're applying for grants to show that you have some invested interest in this. So kind of be thinking of this, and then I'll go back and, we can talk about it when I show you as far as the pickleball courts. We had these two different companies, Big T Recreation, Garrett and Company, that each supplied three different drawings of a playground. So if we get this, and this will certainly be something I'll bring back to another meeting that, you can decide, or maybe perhaps have a committee that would want to decide on the exact design that we end up having for that. Okay, so let me go back now and show you the major so I can explain a little bit. Okay, and I lost my stop share for a second. Okay, so now I need our major grant. Okay, so for our major grant this year, what we are applying for, let me just show you at the beginning of the screen, and it'll kind of be a little more self-explanatory. It is a pickleball, basketball, and parking lot expansion. And so with that, this is just part of the narrative that I add in when we go on. This is the pickleball and basketball courts that are out at the Smith Park that's out by Smith and Edwards. And we would like to, if we could, pattern ours after this. They actually received a ramp grant for this. I was in contact with the people that actually did this one, and I have a bid from them, and I should have another bid from another company tomorrow so we can have a competitive bid. Along with that, we want to expand our parking lot. So I kind of just did this little sketch of where it would be, so it would make a little more sense. You see the new bathrooms, you see our new pavilion, you see our current parking lot, and you'll see the parking lot, and this is to the southwest part of the Civic Center. You see where the pickleball courts would be and the basketball. Now, realize this is just my attempt to try to make a sketch. I'm not even trying to say it's an expert sketch at all, but just to kind of give you an idea, and the ramp grant committee, of where we're thinking of. There will still be trees. We're not covering up the trees along that side. That's just how it ended up doing when I tried to get it put on there. So does that make sense at all where it would be? Okay. So along with that then, when I was doing budget today, so Allied Sports is the one that did the one out at Smith, and this was the budget to do the pickleball and the basketball courts, the $223,000, which we would ask for ramp funds. NGL Lighting will end up helping on some with the lighting. The Allied Sports included some of the lighting, but not all of it. And so we need to include the poles, the lights, the electricity running to that. So we would also ask for ramp funds. Then this was the bid to do the parking lot expansion. And then all the other costs are estimated costs from like concrete, gravel, cement work, all the prep work. There would be a lot of prep work that would go into this. And we can use as part of our match, our equipment, such as using our backhoe, our dump trucks, all of those I have listed. There's also some electrical work that will go into this. And we may have to do like we've done for the new rodeo lights. There may have to be a new amp system put in. So all of that is in play there. The total cost of the project then, as you can see there, is this $485,924. So in order to come up with half of that, when you see, I could not come up with us spending the total cash of $250, if that makes sense. Because if we put in $250,000 cash, we have this other $73,000. We're really not requesting that much funds. So now going back to the playground equipment, if this makes sense, if we take $172,000 out of our general fund, you see these other expenses that include labor. So it shows that we're contributing the $246,000. We're asking for $239,000, so we are over the 50%, which is what they like us to be. But that does allocate some funds or frees up some funds that I think, and that's where I came up with the $40,000 to match for the playground. Does this make sense, or is this just muddy as mud? So, it does show that we're still contributing our 246,000, but that's not just all general funds money. Because we already own the dump truck, we already own the excavator, all of that we already own. We're not having to rent that, but we can use that. Also, one thing I forgot to add too, we can also use as part, it can't use as matching funds, but it can show we already own the land where this will be. And so we can also include the value of that, which I'll make myself a note because I thought of that today and forgot to add it on. Okay, so any questions on this? Does this make sense? How you feel about as far as using these funds? Taking some funds from the, our budget and putting them then going towards the playground.
Sherry, can you go back a couple slides to the layout?
Yes.
That one right there.
Yeah.
How does everybody feel about putting asphalt down or expanding the parking lot, I guess? I mean, do we, how do I say this? Do we want to put in asphalt where we have potential for recreational opportunity? Is that a good way to put it? Does that make sense? I mean,
so let me just give you my input a little, if that's okay, on the parking lot.
Okay.
We're trying now to have more events at the Hooper North Park. We had Spike 150, we have the health fair, we had fireworks on the 4th of July. We couldn't use the park as far as people sitting, but one of the biggest obstacles we have at the Hooper North Park is there is not enough parking. Even every Saturday when they have soccer games, and those of us that live along there have seen it, and those of you that don't have also seen it, it's quite a safety hazard because cars are parked on both sides of the road. They park clear to the corner, even though there are no parking signs. If we have pickleball courts, we have basketball courts. One of the biggest things that has been recommended to me is you have to have parking. And up here, I can tell you, because I actually have it listed. Currently, we have 70 parking spaces, 6 handicap accessible total in our parking lot. So 70 cars, and Shauna can tell you as well as I can, how many cars we have there on Saturdays. And when we've had the health fair, can you see my little arrow moving here? We let cars park out here on the grass because there is no room for them to park. It is a shame to dig up grass. I really appreciate that, Ryan. When this ground was originally purchased, this additional 5 acres down here was actually purchased so there would be room for a parking lot. The plan of that park was just never done, and grass was planted, and all that we will eliminate is 1 soccer field. And one thing we also talked about was on this very west end is having an RV dump. That's not part of the ramp grant. That would be something Hooper City would do, but there would be a drive that would come right along here that now you see where the dirt hill is there at the west end. And there could be an RV dump for people to come and take care of that. So no, Ryan, I agree. I never liked digging up grass, but for some reason we build parks and we do not do parking lots, which is absurd actually. There's no reason to have a park if you don't have a parking lot. Anyway, you heard my opinion.
So that parking lot is equivalent to how much ground? Did you say it was an acre?
It was 1 acre. Yeah, and they figured up, and I don't remember if I have it on here now, how many more places we get. But I do have that. It's not on here, but it's in the ramp grant. I could look that up because they told us how many spots we get when they did our, let me see if I can find that real quick. But like I say, we only eliminate 1 soccer field. There would still be the soccer field that is back here. We keep all of these soccer fields. We keep these baseball diamonds. And there still are the trees. It just didn't show up. I mean, you can see kind of the shade of them. We would only eliminate 1 soccer field.
And that was my next question, Sherry, is under what obligation is Hooper City to hosting soccer all the time? I mean, do we have some kind of a contract with AYSO, or are we obligated to provide soccer every Saturday I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but it seems like there's a lot of people that come here that are not Hooper citizens for soccer. And so
So
something
let
we
me
have
tell
to
you
do.
what's happened a little bit with that. Most of the other cities' parks are no longer allowing them to play in their parks. So we have acquired almost the majority of the AYSO soccer on Saturdays. Shauna has worked so good on this with them, trying to limit how many games they can have. It used to be much worse than it is. And even though it seems still horrific now, Shauna really has done really well with that, limiting the games. We don't have to have all of them. And when Shauna started limiting games, you know, we talked about that. I'm not just saying Shauna decided this on their own. It was kind of a discussion that went on with the mayor, with Public Works, as far as the use of the parks. It has gotten better, but so I don't feel bad giving up one soccer field. I really don't, because the majority of the kids that come are not Hooper. We have a lot of Utah Youth Soccer Association, UYSA kids that come, that when we've talked to them, some come from Bountiful, as far as Standardville, that come because we are a nice park and they come and use it. They're not paying any fees to use it. They do if they rent it for the games, but they don't just for practices. So I think we would get, I think a lot of people would use the pickleball. I know the parking lot would be used. And, you know, sometime, and not this meeting, but another time, I would like to propose we bring back 4th of July fireworks and have them at this park. But you cannot really do that very easily if you don't have a parking lot. And like I say, with the health fair, and on Saturdays when soccer's going on, we never can have anything in the city center because there's not enough parking. We've even had people that have asked, there's been a death, and they've asked if they can come and have a lunch in there after, which isn't a point now because we have COVID, but we couldn't because there's no parking. So
That's why I wouldn't even feel bad about giving up 2 soccer fields for something else. You know,
yeah,
you know, soccer is soccer, and there's so many different and other opportunities rather than soccer. So
yeah.
I'm glad we feel that way. Thank you.
And I can't find right off how many additional parking lots this is, but I think it ended up being about 125. It's not double the size of our other parking lots, but it was about a third of the size bigger. And I can't find that paperwork right off.
I Googled it. It said about approximately 130.
Oh, good. See, okay, my guess is pretty close then.
Well, I think the parking lot is important. I mean, mainly not mainly, but one of the important reasons is the safety issue, because I hate driving down that road on a Saturday when there's soccer in the park on 5500. It's, I think safety is, you know, got to be right up there.
And that's why I'd be in favor of further limiting soccer for that very reason. You know, I don't know why Hooper became the soccer mecca, but thank you, Shauna, for limiting what you
I
did.
was just gonna say, you know, Councilman Hill, if you want to like stop by the office, maybe we can talk about like how we currently have trying to manage that, and then what our kind of policy has been. And what's unfortunately happened is AYSO is pretty much the only association that kind of respects the limitations that we've set for the fields and the fees that we've filled. The rest of them we've tried multiple times to reach out separately so that they would pay for the same usage as the field, or respect that they actually did not reserve the field. But what ends up happening is they use it anyway without our knowledge. And so we've talked a little bit about trying to create some kind of permitting system where the people who actually do rent it, they'll receive like just a temporary permit from us, and then maybe having somebody from city staff just monitoring that maybe on Saturdays once in a while, so that they kind of get the point that, hey, you just can't come, this is for everybody and not just you guys to commandeer this entire field.
Yeah, I even had a little bit of a feedback from one of the teams when we were having our health fair, and I told them they couldn't practice. They were not happy, and I told them it was a city event. We had it scheduled for the health fair. So yeah, Sean is exactly right. We've tried to monitor, you know, Sean has nicely asked them to fill out at least just a form to let us know who's playing when. But yeah, they haven't been all that gracious about doing that.
So have we ever thought about allowing soccer at the main park?
Yeah, so we've given them the option to kind of separate the mass of people, and then with trying to cut down on the number of games that are on that field for safety reasons, for whatever reason. And we've always offered that there's restrooms at that park and that facility. And for whatever reason, they just prefer the other. So I'm not sure.
There are quite a few Utah youth soccer teams that practice at the other park. I don't know that they necessarily have games scheduled, but I know when I was down getting things set up for Halloween Hunt, there was a fairly nonstop stream of soccer players that were practicing. But no, Shauna's right. They haven't opted. And I think we even offered like the Wildwood Park as well. It has a parking lot, has a playground, and they didn't opt to use it either.
Yeah, that's correct. We offered the Wildwood Park. We offered to put like that was when we were using the temporary restrooms. We offered to put one up there for them in order for them to use that facility a little bit better. So I'm not just, I mean, so yeah, any welcoming conversation you'd like to have, Councilman, about how we can kind of make that a little bit better, that's just fine with me.
Okay, so back to this then, and going back to the budget then. So you'll see, you know, when I just barely received the NGL lighting just this afternoon, so I was getting all of this just completed. I think this to me looked like the best option as far as applying for funds. And, you know, even if you take the $172,899 that we would be taking out of the general fund, out of that money that was set aside, you add on the additional $40,000 for the playground, you still come up to the $212,000, which still gives about a $38,000 cushion of money in there if we needed that for anything else as far as this goes, or for the playground. I think we have enough money to do that. I think to have a shot at getting a playground, which I equally think a playground is as important as this. You know, people comment all the time, what's a park without a playground? And I think to have a viable shot at getting that grant for our playground, I think it just makes more sense to put that $40,000 towards it.
I think it looks great, Sherry. Thanks for all your work.
Yeah, well, anything comments? So, you know, any changes, like I say, I'm going to try to have these, I'm going to try to print them off this weekend and turn them in on Monday. So I know we talked a little bit in the work meeting. Ryan, you're going to write your own support letters, is that correct? And so really, if you could write one that include all of these parks and recreations are for the Hooper North Park. The pickleball, basketball parking lot is for that, along with the family pavilion and the park benches. So that could be one. And then somehow or you can write individual. I don't know that you necessarily want to write 6 letters though. And the other ones are the art and museums. And then Chris, you have that letter from Marv Orrock that you're going to get signed. You'll go in on that. Brad, you said you would go in with Cindy's letter. I didn't know, Lisa, if you just want to go along with Cindy's letter or write your own. It's up to you, whatever you would sooner with that.
Okay, whatever will be best.
I think you're fine going along with Cindy's, because that actually ends up giving us, you know, 4 more additional letters than I already have, because it'd be the one from Ryan, the one from the remaining 3 city council members, 3, and then the one from that Chris will get. And like I say, I've already had other community members that have, like AYSO, for example, did one for the playground. I had Jean Larson, who's one of our really good community sponsors, that did one for the message board. I mean, I've had, you know, at least one letter. So I think that should be sufficient. So, and if anybody ever wants to, let me see if I can just pull it up real quick. And you can just go on and find this yourself, but they do a score sheet every year. And this is kind of what we go by. So what I'm saying, does it have matching funds? So that's why we always want to have matching funds. Does some come from community partners? Anyway, you can look this up. But these are when I'm writing these grants, I try to go through and make sure that we're not missing anything, as far as us being able to sustain it. I attended the training, and then they come out and they always meet with, it's usually me that they meet with and ask any questions. We've had really good luck in the past with our ramp grants. And then come up in March, we have 3 more easy grants that are each $2,000 we can apply for, but let's get these ones taken care of, and then we'll start on those next ones. So I didn't know if this is something that needs to go before a vote, as far as you approving the grants, and then also approving to have, it's not changing the amount of money, it's just changing that some would go towards the playground.
Beneficial if we could have an official motion and vote for approval.
Did you say we do need that, Shauna? A motion? Okay, is there any other discussion or questions? If not, then we would entertain a motion to approve the ramp grant project applications.
So I can make that motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the 2021 ramp grant project applications as we've discussed them.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that and include the 40,000 we're taking from our major project of the pickleball courts and applying it to the playground equipment.
Okay, so we have a second with an amendment to the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is to elect a mayor pro tem for 2021. Councilman Paulson was that for 2020. This will also take a motion. If there's any discussion you have about this, we can have that discussion now, or do we have anyone who would volunteer to do that? I don't know. Well, I guess someone has to nominate someone. Right. So do we have any nominations for the mayor pro tem for 2021?
I'll nominate Ryan.
I'll nominate Cindy Cox.
Oh, Ryan.
I've already had a turn. Somebody else needs to have a turn. But I'll do it again, either way.
Okay, so we have a nomination for Councilman Hill and a nomination for Councilman Cox. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so I guess we at this time we'll have a vote. And
Let me ask you a question first. So
okay.
So what does it entail before, because I don't mind letting Ryan off the hook. I just want to know what it entails.
Well, from what I understand, if one thing would be if I wasn't able to attend a councilman meeting, you would be, conducting it, chairing it. And I guess if I was just kind of out of the picture for a while, you would just do everything the mayor would do until the mayor comes back on the scene. So,
That's correct. There's not much obligation as long as the mayor is here and at meetings. But if he were to get sick, go in the hospital, if he were to go on a lengthy vacation, then the mayor pro tem would have quite a lot to do.
so you can see the assignments on our worksheet if you want to look at a few of those.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess at this point, both of you are accepting the nomination. So is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
I guess.
so all those in favor of Councilman Hill being the mayor pro tem, say, well, vote.
Aye.
I'll vote for Ryan.
I'll vote for Ryan.
Ryan it is.
I'll vote for Cindy.
Okay, so we have a vote of, it looks like 4-1. Is that correct? In favor of Councilman Hill being the mayor pro tem for 2021. Did I get that right, Shauna? I think we had Councilman Osler, Councilman Paulson, Councilman Northrup, and Councilman Cox. Did you vote for Ryan?
I did.
Okay, so it would be. So, all right. So congratulations, Councilman Hill.
Why, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have, we need to discuss the council member assignments for 2021. And I know we had a little discussion on this prior to our meeting, during our staff meeting. And it looks like everyone was okay with their assignments just as they are, with the exception that we had a change from Councilman Northrup and Councilman Cox. Councilman Cox would take mosquito abatement, and Councilman Northrup would take youth council. Is that correct? Did I get that right between you two who have changed a couple? Everybody
Yes.
else was okay with their assignments. Does this also take a motion to approve these council assignments, or?
You know, Reed had said it didn't, and that's fine. I just know in the past, we've always made a motion to approve them as discussed, but it is completely up to however you want to do that.
I think
Well-
the motion is fine. The more important thing is that the person doing the job accepts it.
Okay, so let me just ask, does everyone accept those responsibilities then?
Could we
Yeah.
add
Go
Lisa?
ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say, did we figure out if we were able to change? Or if you found out if those meetings were Wednesdays or?
So they're
On the
Monday,
sheriff's?
there's actually a sheriff's huddle meeting, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10:15 a.m.
Okay,
And anybody from any of the Weber County cities on the council or the commissioners are invited to attend that. It seems like it's a pretty short meeting, like maybe 15 minutes. But I couldn't find the animal control one, but I know they have one at least
Okay.
once a month.
is that like weekly or is it monthly or on that Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
It looks like it's weekly, so
Okay.
it's every other day, but I think if we participated once a week on any of those days, I think we'd at least show some effort. So I just wondered if we could put Lisa in as animal control and law enforcement, and I'm happy to stay in it as well, just maybe split the roles. Because I'd really like to get involved in the VIPs as soon as COVID's over with. So,
Animal control, I believe, is only a quarterly meeting too.
oh, is it? Okay.
So have you ever shared responsibilities like that, and then you two would just coordinate that as to who would attend what meeting? Would that work?
Yep. That's good with me.
So Shauna, maybe we could list those sheriff and animal control under both Councilman Northrup and Councilman Hill's assignments. Okay, could we have a motion to approve all the assignments that have been accepted?
I can make the motion to have what council members' assignments approved as written.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Northrup. Do we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay, Councilman Hill, I believe you were a little ahead, so we have a second from Councilman Hill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, so that was unanimous. Okay, at this point, we have completed all the city business. Shauna, has anyone given you any other citizen comments or anything like that during the course of the meeting?
No, I haven't gotten any more citizen comments.
Okay, are there any comments from any of those who are on the Zoom meeting? Looks like we have about 4.
Can I just ask one question? This is Sherry again. So Chris Cave served on our Fremont CTC committee for the coalition, but then of course he's no longer here. And so I didn't know if there was someone from the city council that would be willing to do that. We meet once a month. Our community does. It's on a Tuesday. It's always at Hooper City at 5:30. So I know, I serve on the committee. We have a few others from Hooper, but it was always nice to have someone. The mayor was one of our key leaders, but I didn't know if there's anybody that would be interested in serving with that as well.
Okay,
What day of the, I have a water meeting on Tuesday. What day of the month is it? What Tuesday of the month?
So it's the second Tuesday of every month at 5:30. It only lasts 1 hour, and it is we always have our meetings at Hooper City. Hooper's just been really involved with this. I know, not to expound too much on what the coalition does, but they look at some of the risk factors of the students that are here that feed into Fremont High School. They come up with some programs. Hooper City's really benefited from the CTC. They have given us money, matching money that, when we have our health fair, that we've been able to do the food coupons, that we've been able to give the free meals to the families that come. This year, when we did our little pass out the masks, they ended up giving us some little perk things. I know some of you maybe in your bags had like a little football or a bag, or they've been really supportive with Hooper, and Hooper's been really supportive with them as well. So, if you serve on the committee, a lot of it is input, giving suggestions on how the city could better help, be a community partner with the coalition as far as helping some of the factors, the risk factors. But you may also be asked one time to help do something, like they have a take back event where they will be at a grocery store for an hour where people can turn back in medication that is expired or they no longer use, to try to get some of the narcotics, the oxycodone, some of those off the streets. Anyway, I think Chris really enjoyed it. I'll give you a plus. It's a fun thing to be a part of, and we do always keep our meetings to 1 hour.
I would be happy to, but that's exactly when I have my water board meeting. So
Okay.
that excludes me, darn it.
Okay. Well, if anybody else thinks and like I say, 5:30, second Tuesday, we always have them at Hooper City for 1 hour. Let me know, and then we'll let you know about upcoming meetings. So,
Sherry, I can try and be there.
okay.
I'll try it and see if I can fit it in.
Yeah.
I think it should work for me.
Okay. And they really are good. I mean, we're doing Zoom meetings now. I don't know when we'll be back to having in person. So the first one that you would be a part of coming up would be this coming Tuesday, the 12th. at 5:30 at the Zoom. And so Madison Kilpack is our coordinator over it, just this cute little darling redheaded. Anyway, she'll send you a link and
Okay.
then you can join. So,
Great, thanks.
okay, thank you.
But
So Councilman Hill, you've accepted that. Should we make a motion out of that? Someone want to, oh, you're just good to go.
we don't need a motion. Yeah, we're good.
We'll just, Shauna, you'll just put that on his list of things to do. His assignments. That sounds good. Okay, well, that concludes our meeting. Oh, Lisa or Councilman Northrup. We can't hear you.
Okay, when can I find out when these meetings are that I need to go to and what I need to be doing with this? Like, you know, the sales tax oversight, those kind of things. Do I just come in and talk with Shauna and find out when all this stuff is, or?
I think so. If you'll just come into the city office, I think we can get that information for you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Can I just ask a question?
sure.
How's the general plan going?
Well, I think as far as getting information, I think it's going really well. The collection of the survey that went out, I think that, well, I guess Shauna would have as good a feel for that as any of us, but we've had a really good return on that. And I think we're getting to a point where most of that data has been inputted. Is that right, Shauna? I think they got most of it in.
Yeah, that's correct. So we've had our first open house, and I was going to mention that we will have our second open house January 19th, and it's Zoom. So on Monday, I just got the agenda and the Zoom link from Wasatch Front Regional Council for that just yesterday. So on Monday, you'll see that posted on the website, Facebook, things like that. So everyone's welcome to join. So we'll have that initial discussion that will talk more in depth about what they heard back from their first focus group and some of the finalized data in that first survey. And then they'll work towards, you know, additional surveys, additional focus groups and things like that.
That's at 7 p.m., correct?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't have that right in front of me. Cindy, do you know what time that is for sure? You should have got an email from Wasatch Front Regional Council just the other day for those that are on that committee.
Yeah, let me check that email really quick. I actually highlighted that one so I would know. That is January 19th at 7 p.m. 7 to 8:30.
So we did make some adjustments to the original open house timing to make that more available to the general. They were like around 5 or 6 p.m. And so we moved that back so more people could participate. But I think in the grand, you know, scheme of the survey, we actually got way more responses than I think most cities get in terms of our population and who responded. So we should see some kind of solid data for those survey questions coming in from the regional council soon.
I will mention the first meeting they had, they were right on time. They started right on time and they end right on time. I mean, and everything was just really well organized. I think each focus group, you know, had their own group separately at the same time, but it really was a good meeting. So in answer to your question, Councilman Hill, I think it's going good. I think information is being collected and I think it's going good.
Thank you for the update.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, I think it was unanimous. Well, thank you very much.
Good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.